Hey folks, just a quick lesson on using commas and periods with quotation marks. These rules apply to American punctuation as opposed to British, and they're rooted in the conventions of typesetting. Long ago, American typesetters settled on this standard not so much for any logical reason, but for aesthetic reasons. They just thought it looked better. So don't try to overthink it. Just learn the following rule, and you'll be good to go. Here's the rule. Commas and periods go inside quotation marks. Let's take a look at an example. The teacher said, commas and periods go inside quotation marks. If you take a look at the end of the quotation, you'll see that the period appears right after the S in marks, and just before the closing quotation marks. In other words, it's inside the quotation marks. Let's take a look at another example. This rule also applies to titles of short works like The Raven, which is by Edgar Allan Poe. Here, we see that the comma appears right after the N in Raven and before the closing quotation marks. Again, it's inside the quotation marks. Now, let's take a look at what we might consider an exception to that rule. Soon enough, we're going to learn about in-text citations. And when we do, the thing to keep in mind is that when you use an in-text citation, the period goes after the citation. Let's take a look. In Notes on Academic Writing, Mark Schuster says, when you provide an in-text citation, the period goes after the citation. Now that 33 at the end of the sentence means that the quotation appears on page 33 of the book. We call that an in-text citation or a parenthetical reference. And you'll notice that when you provide an in-text citation, the period appears after it. Notice that there's nothing, not even a space, between the last letter of the word citation and the closing quotation marks. Then there's a space, then the in-text citation, and then the period. To review, most of the time, periods and commas go inside quotation marks. However, when you provide an in-text citation, the period goes after the citation. I know it can be a little tricky, but as always, that's why it's good to proofread.